Hi everyone, welcome again to another live session from Teacher Joseph. And today we're focusing in on accents. Yes, that's right. Accent reduction is the feature in today's YouTube clip. So we're going to go over a few tips, hints to allow you to speak better. And we're also going to do some reading of a news story so you can hear how reducing your accent can dramatically improve how you speak. And it really is very, very important to ensure that you give a really nice, smooth presentation of English. So I'm going to be with you for the next hour, and I'm also going to be taking your questions, because I know many of you really you do want to understand more about why and how accent reduction is important. It's something we've gone over again and again, and there's also a real lack of teachers who are willing to look at accent reduction. So without further ado, that's a very good place for us to start, and that is with the history of teaching accent reduction. And why is it that there aren't really so many people around now to really focus in on accents? Well, the main reason for that is because in our history, how you spoke determined what class you were. So in other words, if you were of the lower classes, you weren't expected to speak well, because the chances are you were going to be fairly poorly educated. And if you were middle class, your accent would be somewhere in between. And of course, upper class people could be identified by the way that they spoke. And then we had issues where maybe someone in the middle classes wanted to marry someone from the upper class, or someone even from the lower classes wanted to marry someone who was out of their league. And so what happened was they had people in our communities, and they were called the elocutionists. And if you are looking for more information on accent reduction, try the hashtag elocution. Elocution is the study of speaking better. And you know, native speakers, when we want to speak better, we don't go to English teachers, we go to elocutionists. There are still people around to specialize in helping us to speak better. For example, if you think about maybe, let's see, if you think about maybe an actor, and he has to change his accent in order to do very well in the part of the movie that he's in, he's not going to go to a language teacher, he's going to go to an elocutionist. And it is the elocutionist that's going to help him speak better. In history, they tended to be little old ladies who never married. Often their parents were very important people like dignitaries, and of course jobs for women in those days were few and far between, so elocutionists were perfect ways for women to pass the time and make some money to help you to speak better. And that's exactly what happened. There was a number of people who their sole purpose was to help you speak better, but once the class system started to disappear after the 60s social revolution, there wasn't such a need. Even though Queen's English, you had to have to work in the media, and that rule was relaxed in 1990. So there's some background for you about why things are the way they are. And then there wasn't really such a need, except maybe in the acting profession. But then when immigration kicked in, elocution made a big comeback, and I think in American English, American teachers have always focused on this. They love that kind of thing. I was looking the other day on YouTube at accent coach from America, and there she was with the leotard and the exercise suit with the, I don't know what you call them, dumbbells, the things you push to improve your muscles. And this was her way of demonstrating how you should speak properly. I'm not sure I saw the connection between the physical and the speech, but it was her way of promoting it anyway. So they've always been very good at that. In the UK, it's kind of moved into voice coaching. And these days, as you might know, the whole teaching profession now is moving more towards live coaching. Teachers like me, we spend most of our time helping you to get that job, to pass that exam, improving your motivation. It's no longer really about actually giving you grammar, because you have AI for that. You don't need me for that. So there we are. Right. So let's move on to some tips now about how you can speak better. And the main one, the one I'm always telling you about, and I've said this till I'm blue in the face. This is an English idiom. Until you're blue in the face means you repeat it again and again and again until you turn blue. Okay? I've told you this 100 times, but with accentreduction, you need really to be pulling your mouth down. Okay, you've saw British people speaking. You've seen us talking on TV. We keep the stiff upper lip, and we talk by pulling the mouth down, and that's why we look so miserable. Because we don't talk like this. We're always pulling the mouth down. That's also why we look so serious. So that is really, really important. And certainly you need to be doing that. So that's a really good place to start, the mouth and the mouth movements. Now, many of you, I do understand, you talk by moving your mouth horizontally and you're smiling at the same time. Some of us do that, but most of us really are just pulling the mouth down like a fish, like my cat before he bites me. This is really, really important. Okay, so you really do need to be thinking more about your mouth movement. If you watch any of our old Queen's speeches, she often talks about the stiff upper lip. And in the old days, if you ever worked on radio, they actually put marbles in your mouth to help you to speak properly. They would fill your mouth with marbles, and the idea was to try to speak without moving the marbles. It would keep your mouth in the correct position. It really was crazy. But those were the tips that they gave us in order to help us speaking better. So that's your first main tip there. That is pulling this part of the mouth down. Okay, like this. Now, the next thing I want to tell you, which is really, really important, is that if you want to improve your speaking very quickly, just copy someone. Find the voice you like. You can use my voice if you like, and just copy it. It's really, really important. Okay, so we spoke about the importance of pulling your mouth down, but you're not going to speak really, really well unless you actually physically copy how someone else speaks. Now, this is what children do. Children tend to hear and repeat. They hear and say. They don't understand anything. They just hear and say. And that's really, really important. That's something for you to think about. Hear, say. And if you could do that with the radio or with one of my podcasts, that would be absolutely excellent. So that's something for you to think about there. All right, good, good. Now, shadowing, as I've mentioned to you before, when you're listening and repeating, it's really important that you don't have a script with you. Whatever you hear, just try to say. Even if you only hear ba 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 ba, try to say it with your voice. All right, that's really important. Right, so those are the first two very important points. One about pulling your mouth down, getting your mouth in the correct position. And the other one, which is really very, very important as well, and that is beginning the practice of shadowing. You really need to be doing that. All right, that's very important. Okay, let me just take a little drink of my coffee, it is today. Right, what we're going to do now is just go through a few of the letters. We'll begin with the vowel sounds, just so that you're okay with those. A, E, I, O, and U. Now you can see there that I'm pulling my mouth down as I say them. A, E, I, O, and U. Ah. Let's add some words in there just to keep them going. So, apple, eggs, inside, open, and underneath. So you can see there isn't any need to be pulling my mouth like this. There is a need sometimes um, for the mouth to be pulled down and pulled over like this. Exactly, because the difference between A and E, apple, eggs, is a little bit of a pull on the bottom here. It's pulling the mouth down. Okay, so very good, very good. Right, so those are the vowel sounds, and we've already spoken about how to improve those, but to keep that going, shadowing every day is very, very good. Now, there's a really good site which has all of the sounds of English, which is called Anti-Moon, and I suggest you go looking for that. Um, if you just put in anti-moon sounds of English, you'll find it. It has all of the sounds, and it has the British and American sounds. I mean, most of them are the same. The ones marked BR, of course, are British. And you can go through that, and that would be a really, really good way of practicing the sounds individually. Now, we're going to be doing some reading in a minute, and I'm going to be showing you just again that mouth movement of pulling the mouth down like this, okay? Really important. But again, before we do that, we just want to go over the other letters. Now, we've done the vowel sounds, so we just need to do the ones that aren't vowel sounds, okay? So let's begin with the letter B, because we've done A. So just again, notice when I'm saying these letters, they're followed by a vowel because you can't avoid it. For example, B. It sounds like B and E, doesn't it? Even though it's the letter B. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, or some people say Z. I really think I should change my job and be on Sesame Street or something like that. It would be much easier and much better. Right. Well, anyway, those are the sounds of English. And you can see there, I was keeping my top lip uh, straight and just pulling down my bottom lip as I was saying these. Okay. Right. So let's carry on because now We're going to read a news story, and while I'm reading this, I want you to pay close attention to my mouth. Okay, so let me just move this camera over a bit to make room for my tablet here that I'm going to put up. Right. Um, let's see. So, here's a nice story. The UK is set to introduce digital driving licenses. This is a story from today. Now, we're going to read through this, but not for the purposes of vocabulary. I want you to hear exactly how I'm talking. Okay, so let's just begin. Digital driving licenses are to be introduced in the UK as the government looks to use technology to transform public services. They will be accessed on a new government smartphone app and could be accepted as a form of ID when buying alcohol, voting, or boarding domestic flights. Physical licenses will still be issued, but ministers believe the voluntary digital option will drag government into the 2020s, according to the Times. There we are. So you can hear there that in reading that, my voice is coming down. Very important. And this is key when we are looking at accent reduction. Now, as I was saying earlier, with the vowel sounds particularly, you need to really be keeping that stiff upper lip and just pulling this down. Okay, it makes us look really unhappy and serious, but that's what gets you the perfect accent. My name is Bond, James Bond. It's just about keeping this part stiff, stiff upper lip, as our queen used to say. Let's read a little bit more. And this story, if you've just joined us, is the UK set to introduce digital driving licenses. And I'm reading part of it just to show you the correct mouth movements that give you the perfect sounds. Okay, so let's just move on a little bit. Watch my mouth. A government spokesperson told the BBC News this government is committed to using technology to make people's lives easier and transform public services. Technology now makes it possible for digital identities to be more secure than physical ones, but we remain clear that they will not be made mandatory. Okay, so you can hear there that by pulling the mouth down, keeping this stiff, it gives you some perfect vowel sounds. And also earlier, I was pointing out that if you really are looking to change your accent, shadowing is a great way to do it. But one other thing you can do is check out the hashtag elocution. And that's because when a British man wants to change his accent, for whatever reason, maybe he's an actor or he doesn't like how he speaks, we don't go to language speakers, we go to elocutionists. Those are people who are specialized or have a great interest in changing how you speak. People like me, I love changing people's accents. Right, let's continue then. So we're reading through a story here, and we've been focusing in on how British people speak just with this part of the mouth, top part stiff, this part moves like a fish. Okay, that's the window you have for speaking. Now, if you're from the Mediterranean or, well, other parts of the world as well, you may well find that people often speak like this and they're smiling. And that's what produces the Spanish accent, of course, or Italian accent. But what you need to be doing is displacing that. Also, Asian people, particularly Chinese people, tend to talk with a very small part of the mouth here, and you're looking at pulling this down. Okay, that's where you're going with this. All right, so we're going to continue. Let's see. It says here, the new digital licenses, license, I. You notice there that the letter I is being made not by opening my mouth, but by closing it. I, inside, air. It says here, the digital licenses are likely to be launched as part of a wallet within a new government app called gov.uk. The wallet is understood to be secured in a similar way to many banking apps and would only allow the genuine owner of a license to access it. Yeah, because we don't have ID cards here, as you know. Right, just to recap, I'm here to help you with accentreduction. I've said a lot so far in this first 20 minutes. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask me about accentreduction, changing how you speak, now is the time to ask. Any questions you have, any comments you have about accentreduction, please do send them over and I'll do my best to try to help. Now, Britain is a very multicultural place. We have people of all colours, all nationalities, and when we are talking on the phone, it is sometimes possible to determine more about the person you're talking to. Because I love voice and accent work, if I'm talking on the phone to someone who's Asian, Southeast Asian, from Pakistan or India, or also someone who perhaps is from another part of the world, even though they were born here, I can still tell. Yeah. So if, let's say, a man from the Caribbean calls me right now, I'm probably going to know that they have some Caribbean origin. Likewise, someone from Southeast Asia, born in the UK, you can hear it. There's very, very slight things you can hear in what they say, and the tone is different. You can hear that the tone is starting from a different place than the way other people do. It's very interesting and very easy to do. And if you're interested in that, it's something, a skill perhaps you can develop as well. Right, well, we've been going through some tips for accentreduction. We've started to read a news story saying that the UK is set to introduce digital driving licenses as well. So that's something else for you to have a look at. But right now, I just want to read a little bit more of this story. And again, notice, try to copy my voice, imitate me, if you will. Okay, don't try to remember what I'm saying, but try to actually copy the way I'm speaking. All right. It says here, there were more than 50 million driving license holders in the UK in 2023, according to government data. The digital licenses are likely to be launched as part of a wallet within a new government app called gov.uk. The wallet is understood to be secured in a similar way to many banking apps and would only allow the genuine owner of a license to access it. It will use features found on many smartphones such as biometrics and multi-factor authentication, like security codes. The government is said to be considering integrating other services into the app, such as tax payments and benefit claims. There we are. Very interesting. So, yes, you can find that story under technology in the BBC's news website. If you're just coming online, this particular live YouTube segment is all about learning to speak better, to have a better accent. And one of the biggest problems that people have is in joining the words together. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So basically, when people join words together, it sounds much more fluent. You know, native speakers often learn words separately. My name is Joseph. And to join the words up sounds much more professional. But sometimes, when you're learning a language, it's easy to forget that you have to phrase things together instead of simply joining them up. Okay, so you really have to see the words like a piece of music and how they fit together, because if you always keep separating words, you're going to sound very, very mechanical, and you're not going to like that very much. And the person hearing you certainly is going to be a little bit confused. So really important, you start phrasing your words together. And in order to do that, you really need to have your breathing right. A big deep breath in, push the words out as you speak. Now, let me just demonstrate what I'm saying here. We'll go back to the story about the driving licenses, okay? I'm going to read it two ways. First, the wrong way, and secondly, the right way. Digital driving licenses are to be transformed. And as much as I love you guys, when I'm teaching you, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I hear a lot of on the system, on italki. You tell me you speak well, and you do, but your words are not joined up well. So you need to phrase and join them. It's very important. Okay. Let me just read the second way, which is going to sound much more fluent. Deep breath in. Digital driving licenses are to be introduced in the UK as the government looks to use technology to transform public services. Transform. I don't know where I got transform from. I think I was distracted because somebody just joined the room there. I saw the number going up by one, but they've run away. So doesn't matter. Yeah, so anyway, I'm just saying that it's really, really important to phrase your words together. One of the most important things to sound fluent. When you go for that job interview, you really want to sound the best you can possibly be. All right. So there we are. I've said a lot in this half hour about um, accent reduction, elocution. So I just want to give you a little summary. Hopefully, some other people will come into this room, and then we can have a little confab, a little conversation about what I've been talking about. But if not, then it doesn't matter, because this is recorded and it will always be there for you to see. All right. So let me just take some more coffee, and then we'll come back and we're going to just do a little recap. Lovely. Very nice. Right. So we started off today by really talking about the history of accent reduction. And I was saying that in the old days, when we had a class system, you really had to learn how to speak well if you were joining the next class up. I mean, these people back in Victorian times, they had no TV or radio, so this was like a national sport for them. I know, looking through the old documents of my family, one of them, I think one of my old uncles or cousins, I can't remember who it was, he was marrying someone who was of a different class, and he tried desperately to fit in. He had lessons on how to speak well because the family would have known immediately just by talking to him that he was from a different class. So he had elocution lessons. Of course, for native speakers, they're not called accentreduction lessons, they're called elocution. Do have a look at the hashtag for elocution. You'll find me on there, and you'll find the elocutionists who are there to help you speak better. All right, so that's a little bit of the history we were talking about earlier. We also were talking about the sounds of English, and I took you through each letter individually so that you could hear the sounds of English. I was highlighting the fact that you really need to have this stiff upper lip. It's really, really important. Okay, just to be pulling your mouth down. Shadowing was another thing we spoke about. Really very important. If you aren't speaking well, copy. We say in English, fake it till you make it. That's really important. So do your best to copy someone, sound like them until it becomes perfect. It sounds a bit fake, but it does actually work. All right, so that also is really important. Yeah, we went through the individual letters and I was showing you how, just with this mouth movement, we make all of the vowel sounds. And in fact, we make all of the sounds by pulling this down. And I was demonstrating that as well for you. Then we did a little bit of reading and a story which is all about the UK, which is set to introduce digital driving licenses. Now, if you are coming to live in the UK, don't worry too much about the accent because everyone here now is very informal. Even in the workplace, there isn't such a need to be speaking well. But I do recommend, though, that you do try some accent reduction classes because there is still a feeling sometimes that if you speak well, you're more educated, especially amongst the older people. It's really, really important, and you want to give a good impression. So accent reduction is a good way to do that. What I was talking about there a moment ago is just about phrasing your words together instead of reading them word by word, phrasing them together. You know, I really do miss the old days of listening to the radio. You know, when I was a boy, before the internet came, I could sit for hours just fine tuning the radio just to catch an English accent. It was a beautiful thing, and that's how I got started with languages. I loved trying to catch stations like Radio Exterior de España or RAI, Radio from Italy. They were glorious days because they were broadcasting the foreign service. It was like the external department of your government online. It was great. You could hear so many stories about people's lives living in other countries. Of course, it wasn't always accurate, especially in the days before the Iron Curtain came down. You know, like Radio Moscow, for example, they all had very slight American accents to confuse you. You wouldn't know where you were listening to, but radio was a wonderful thing and a great way to improve your accent as well. Really very important. That's a hobby that's long gone, but I really yearn for those days when people were speaking very well on the media, you know. Anyway, well, there's people dropping into this room here and there. But unfortunately, we've not had a huge amount of people. Saturday evenings, yeah, difficult time, isn't it? People are arriving home from shopping, you know, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to end it there, and this recording will be online for you to see. Remember, my podcasts are all online, And if you do like this kind of thing, please do like the video and subscribe. And that's your way of telling me that you've enjoyed it. That would be really helpful. If you do have any other accent introduction things or comments that you'd like to make, send me a message. I don't generally leave comments open on my podcasts or video clips, purely because I get the biggest bunch of nutters, strange people leaving comments trying to sell me things. However, if you do have any questions regarding accent introduction, just go to my website, teacherjoseph.com, send them over, and I'll try and pick them up for you. Let me just do one more recap on what we've been talking about and the most important things to help you. Shadowing in order to help yourself. Mouth movement, really important, keeping your lip stiff. Don't be afraid to talk loudly to get your power as well. That's really very important. And to join the words together in phrases as well. All right, well, that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll catch up again soon. Take care. Bye.